Sitting in a vacant Toronto house one summer, Gordon Lightfoot penned the lyrics to the first song of his to ever hit the American music charts. The song, inspired by Lightfoot's divorce, struck a chord internationally, reaching number 1 on the Canadian music charts and number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. In later live performances of this classic, Lightfoot changed one of the lines at the request of his daughter. I'm just trying to understand the feelings that you lack, becoming, I'm just trying to understand the feelings that we lack. The popularity of this song was so immense that it changed the title of the album it was released on. Thus, the album, Sit Down Young Stranger, became named after this song. That's right, on the final week of Love or Me, we're talking Gordon Lightfoot's If You Could Read My Mind.
If you could read my mind, love, what a tale my thoughts could tell. Just like an old-time movie about a ghost from a wishing well.
That's right, it's Love or Me, the only podcast that talks about famous love songs and their many cover versions and compares them against one another to find out which ones can read our mind. I'm your host as always, who am I? I'm your host as always, Jake Cressy, joined by my telepathic co-host.
Who am I? Alex Mildenberger. Thanks for telling me telepathically.
That's right. That's the only way you know that.
I almost didn't have that one.
I actually fucking nailed the intro, and then everything after the intro I fucked up.
No, the intro was good, but you really got to remember your name, dude.
I know, that's amateur hour. Alex, this is the final week of Love or Me, and we are talking about maybe one of the most depressing songs on earth.
Yes, this is more about divorce. Because as Love or Me must come to an end, so must many relationships, including this relationship, which is Gordon Lightfoot's first marriage.
How many times has that dude been married?
It was 2 or 3. Definitely 2. Let me look here.
Do you think he played this for his second wife when they were divorced?
He's been married 3 times. I don't know. I watched. There's a documentary on CBC website about Gordon Lightfoot. It's called If You Could Read My Mind, and I watched it last night. It's about 90 minutes long, and yeah, it's pretty good. Like, goes over his life. It didn't really say he'd been married 3 times, but when he talked about his second marriage, it happened long enough ago that, like, when it showed his third wife, I was like, she's way too young. There's no way that's her, and it wasn't.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He's also still alive. He's like 80.
Yeah, he's 80-something. In it was like early 2010s that like there was a false story that went out that he died, and he called into like a Winnipeg radio station being like, "Hey, it's me, Gordon Lightfoot. I'm alive."
Yes, I do remember that happening. I remember it being reported, and I was like, "Hey, that's a name I recognize," because of really at the time only Black Day in July, which gets play on. Or I'm sure more than just that, but that was the only one that I was aware of because it got some play on classic rock radio, which I listened to at the time.
Yeah. Speaking of classic rock radio, I just found out last night through Twitter that Alice Cooper's still doing his radio show.
Which is right on. I can't believe we didn't look that up because we talked about it.
Yeah.
Like when we did Poison all those many months ago.
And nobody even reached out to be like, "Hey, idiots, he's still doing it."
It's because we don't have any followers. No,
Yeah,
we must,
so
right?
Really, this is a failing of our followers and not us.
Yeah, this isn't our fault.
More so in the fact that they don't follow us.
Yes. So, followers of ours, you guys really gotta start listening to this. Become I don't want to say fans, but I'm gonna stick with followers. Like,
yeah, because you can follow something without liking it.
Can we turn this into a cult? Do you think?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure.
Yeah, they could be like followers of us as post-humanist beings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Because that's what we are.
I mean,
right?
I took a class on post-humanism. Can't even tell if you used the term right. Like,
yeah, I don't know. All I know is you took that class and you used that word one time, and I was like, I like it. I'm after human. I'm better.
So let's talk about this.
Different?
A song that I didn't know the original version of, but one of the cover versions, and knowing that has depressed me almost more than this song.
Yeah, it was the same for me, and I think I remember a couple years ago, like my dad got whatever Best of Gordon Lightfoot or the Essential Gordon Lightfoot or something like that, and my sister used to sing this song. I'm pretty sure it wasn't the original version. I don't know exactly, but and then I was just listening to the album and I heard this song and I was like, this is so familiar, but like was surprised it was like a folk song from the 70s. And I swear I was like driving with you somewhere and I was like, you gotta listen to this, man. This song sounds like it's old, man. I was always very exciting. It was like that and like the first cut is the deepest. Like those had the same effect on me. Where I used to hear my sister sing them because there was like a later pop version, and then I heard the original and I was just so surprised. Even though I need to stop being because that happens far too often.
That still it shocks me. Like, I mean, most of the versions we're talking about today are like dance covers.
Yeah, that is a little odd.
Yeah, it's very odd.
There are a lot of covers of this song, though. There's like probably close to 140 versions of this song, listed on secondhand songs, and even like in the documentary, which is called "If You Could Read My Mind." Did I say that before? I don't remember.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't need to say it again. When
they talk about the documentary, though,
that was the name of the documentary.
What was it?
What
was the name of the documentary?
Can you read my mind?
No.
But did you know the documentary was called "If You Could Read My Mind"? It's called Gordon Lightfoot : If You Could Read My Mind. Yeah.
Gordon Lightfoot's : If You Could
If
Read
You Could Read My Mind. Yeah. Okay. And even when they get to that song, like that is what they highlight is how many cover versions there are, and there's like so many because we're talking about a couple, but there's a ton more, and I don't have the page up anymore, and that's not great, but there's a lot.
There's a lot. I know
there's especially like there's a bunch
Johnny
of country
Cash
versions.
version.
Yeah, Johnny Cash versions, some other country versions. I'm pretty sure. Did Ian and Sylvia do it? Ian and Sylvia did like a couple of his songs, possibly this one. They were like buddies. Ian Tyson comes up in this documentary a couple times. So yeah, it was all like. So yeah, this song has been covered a lot.
Yes, it has.
Which is a little weird. Because it's not, well, maybe it's not that weird, but almost its popularity was almost a little weird because it's not like hooky, really, and there's not like a big chorus or anything.
And I would say like the big like the parts where the song goes the hardest like drop so unexpectedly that it doesn't allow you to like kind of get into the rhythm of it.
Yeah,
but I think that's also why people like kind of flock to this song is because it is so like weird and gross and personal and also beautiful at the same time.
Yeah. All right. With that, let's talk about some words.
Let's talk about these fucking words, man. We open with the first verse. Let's go with the let's go with the first. Nah, let's go with the first two lines. If you could read my mind, love, what a tale my thoughts could tell.
Well, we're pretty straightforward there. I mean, this song, as we discussed, is about his divorce, and he clearly has, or he seems to be expressing this inability to express himself, kind of like he can only express the fact that he can't express himself, which sounds a little ironic. He's saying like, you know, this is what I'm trying to tell you, but I can't or it's hard to say. If you could understand, I guess maybe it's more of an understanding. Like you can express yourself without someone understanding you.
Yeah.
Necessarily. So he like I'm trying to tell my side of the story or tell you how I feel about this.
Yeah, and it's as we find in verse 2 that understanding and lacking it is on both sides of the equation because verse 2 opens, if I could read your mind, love, what a tale your thoughts could tell.
Right.
And so then with the following words in both, he sort of does his best to break it down into essentially similes. Where he says, just like an old-time movie about a ghost from a wishing well, in a castle dark or a fortress strong, with chains upon my feet.
Yeah, I tried to figure out if that was an actual movie being referenced. And there's a forum I went online that seems to think All right, some classic horror film.
Seems to think it's about Casper?
Seem to think it's about an Abbott and Costello movie called The Time of Their Lives, about two ghosts who were mistakenly branded as traitors during the Revolutionary War, return to a 20th century New England, not a 20th century New England, just 20th century New England, to
Okay, it's not
retrieve
like
a letter
sci-fi.
from George Washington which would prove their innocence. Now, it's a comedy, so I feel like maybe that's not right, but I've not seen the movie, so I don't know if it fits in any way.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just kind of thought, like, so because he says, to go one line further, he says, that ghost is me.
Right.
So, like, about a ghost from a wishing well. What the, like...
The Grudge. No, the other one, The Ring.
The Ring, no, but I'm thinking, like, a wishing well is where hope is, right? You make wishes, and it's your sincere hope that they come true. So a ghost from a wishing well is, like, literally dead hope.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
That's so sad. And he's also, like, trapped inside a fortress.
Yeah.
And he's stuck. He's got chains. He doesn't say shackles, but I assume the chains are attached to his feet via shackles. That's
it's not just like a cool fashion accessory.
Just got some dope chains on my feet.
They're pretty cool.
Yeah. And I like the part he's like, and the ghost is me. I'm the ghost.
I'm the ghost.
There are a few times in this song where it seems like he's almost patronizing to the other person, but I'm sure it's just for poetry reasons. Like, it all fits in. I know, like, the documentary was talking about how much effort he put into his lyrics and, like, melodies. And a lot of people were talking about, like, he would write out lead sheets, which is kind of uncommon for writing out melodies, especially in, like, more modern pop music. And when they were interviewing him, he was just kind of like, well, as long as it rhymes, it's fine. So you never know how much or what the thought process is. He seems to... I don't know. It's hard to tell what he says versus what he actually did, but that's what he said. I don't know if he was just telling a joke.
Yeah, hard to tell sometimes with those kind of interviews.
Yeah, so...
with this line, that ghost is me. It could be. We've already established that at the heart of maybe this divorce is a communication problem, right?
Right.
If you could read my mind, what a tale of my thoughts could tell that maybe I can't say out loud. So when he's, breaking down the simile, he has to be like, I'm the ghost. Like, it's not you. It's not the relationship. It's
right. Like,
me.
I'm not trying to blame this on you or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the ghost here.
It's me, the
I
ghost.
am dead
and I'll
hope.
never be set free as long as I'm a ghost that you can't see.
See, I always thought you said you can see.
So,
what's the difference?
I guess, yeah. I kind of like the ghost you can see is better.
So, because then it's like you have to separate each other, because the only way to not be held back by this unfortunate situation is to completely separate from it, which is what's happening. He's getting a divorce.
But yeah, I guess maybe in the actual version, it's that you need to acknowledge me as a ghost, and like we need to accept that who you thought I was essentially is dead.
Dead. Or never existed.
Yeah. Which brings us into verse 2.
It does.
All right. He says, if I could read your mind, love, what a tale your thoughts could tell. Just like a paperback novel, the kind that drugstores sell.
So
actually, I should probably read the rest of that just because it all kind of connects there. When you reach the part where the heartache comes, the hero would be me, but heroes often fail.
Sad again.
Yeah, just fucking... And these are the moments, like that line, the hero would be me, where things start to rise up, and you're like, oh, we're gonna hit some shit, and then he just fucking guts it on the next line. It's like, but heroes often fail.
And it's, just like down again. Now the books, he talks about like cheap novels, basically. They're just being sold at a drugstore, paperbacks.
Mm-hmm.
My first thought was like romance novels.
Yes. That seems to be Genius's thoughts on the matter as well. Your sort of Harlequin romance.
So he's kind of imagining her thoughts as unrealistic. kind of? Is that how it's being presented? Is that how you would take it? Because saying like this is
Yeah,
like
well,
but it's not like that. Like, and you see me
and
as this hero,
yeah,
but I'm not this hero.
I'm not. It's yeah. I think
Or
he
if I
addresses
am, I
it
can fail
in
anyway.
verse 3, his own unrealistic expectations as well.
Right.
So there is an element of this song that is about how, weirdly enough, how media shapes our expectations of love, but how those are often not reality.
And
So yeah, in
failure
this one he
is an
says
option. Yeah.
he says like you read these novels, and in them, when heartache happens, the hero swoops in, and that in your eyes that was me coming in to save you from heartache, but heroes often fail.
Yeah, like I can fail because or he doesn't say like I'm not actually a hero or this is real life, but he kind of I'm getting that he implies it. Do you get that as well? That's what I get
Yeah.
out of it. That's what you kind of said.
He's saying that like there is no like guarantee, I guess. It's like sure, heroes can show up, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're successful, that they're going to win.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that we're talking about a song that uses the word hero so like centrally in the
Right.
song. So we just talked about heroes, because in that one we talked about how heroes often die.
Right. It is kind of the same idea because the heroes in that were creating this kind of like this fiction where the heroes could survive even if only for a day. And in this he's kind of saying the same thing. Like it didn't last. Like could be
Yeah.
a hero, but then the hero fails.
And yeah,
'Cause they're
and that
human.
relates to him, now being a ghost, is that he's sort of failed and died.
And then
And
lived in a
then
well
yeah, and
and
then
a
we also
castle.
talked about how heroes kind of live on through that story. And then he addresses that with the last two lines of this verse where he says, "And you won't read that book again because the ending's just too hard to take."
Right.
That book being their relationship.
Right, and just like leave it. The other thing I took from that, um, mostly going from this documentary, he's talking about how after his divorce, he said he would never get married again. And then, of course, as we know, he was married 2 more times. But that kind of is kind of the other side of that line that I get. Like, you won't read the book again. You won't want to be a part of these relationships again because they might end like this one. And that's too hard.
Yeah. That's 100% right. That's definitely something he's saying with that line. Again, just fucking devastating stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. But it sounds nice. It's a very pretty sounding song.
Very pretty sounding song. And so then we get to verse 3 where he says, "I'd walk away like a movie star who gets burned in a 3-way script." So this seems to imply I like Googled around and saw what other people thought about it, but that like in a 3-way script being like there are three, like basically he got cheated on in the movie sense. I don't know if he actually got cheated on in real life.
He was
But-
actually the cheater in real life, I believe. So I don't know exactly how to interpret that from that context. I'm pretty because he like was away from his family doing his music or whatever.
Right.
Not being
And the song
faithful.
he didn't pen was "Faithfully" by Journey.
True. That's true. As far as we know.
But in movies where there is like somebody who gets burned in a relationship, which is I think what he means when he says he gets burned in a 3-way script.
Right.
They and this is where the other lines in enter number 2, a movie queen to play the scene of bringing all the good things out in me, is that his unrealistic expectation after this divorce is that he's going to run into this woman who's just going to, make his life good and great again and like turn things around.
Right. But then again, pulls back. Like it's the same thing. He kind of comes up of bringing all the good things out in me, and then like comes down and said, "But for now, love, let's be real," because it's like a direct acknowledgement of like that's not realistic.
Yeah, he's like that's crazy. It's obviously not going to happen.
And then the next couple lines are pretty telling, I think. They both say like something similar and they have a similar structure. When he says, "I never thought I could act this way, and I've got to say that I just don't get it. I don't know where we went wrong, but the feeling's gone, and I just can't get it back. And again, so sad.
Yeah, fuck.
Because I do like the first part really, because he's he knows, like as I mentioned, he was cheating, or at least that's the story I seem to remember reading. I read a lot. You read so much information.
Yeah.
But like he's saying, like I didn't think that I was this kind of person. Like I couldn't do this thing. I didn't think, but then I did, and like I don't even understand how. I didn't expect myself to do this given the opportunity. It's like, what would you do given the opportunity kind of situation? Like,
right.
What's the prison experiment or whatever? Where like,
the Stanford.
Yeah,
prison
where like
experiment?
people were supposedly given power and it showed that they abused it or something. But it's like if you never if you're never given that power, you never know what you would do.
Yeah,
if you
with
had
all
it.
your power, what would you do?
What would you do?
That's exactly what they talk about in the Yeah song.
Yeah. So
by Flaming Lips.
This is the Yeah song, but in like 2 lines.
Yeah. Yeah, I never thought I could act this way. I've got to say that I just don't get it. Because yeah, he doesn't understand how he became that person, how he could do these things. That you're right. It's exactly what you just said. And then he says he brings it to the relationship. I don't know
Right.
where we went wrong. Like I don't know when you and I stopped having this this sort of movie or paperback novel love. I don't know when things stopped being good. But I know that we can't get it back. The feeling is gone.
Which is again, yeah, so sad. So very sad.
Yeah,
it's the
so
end.
sad.
It's the end of an era. It's the end. This came out in 1970, so it was the end of the 60s.
That's right.
Things were changing. The I don't know. Stuff was going on. The 70s.
Stuff was going on, and then so we get the verse 4 is pretty much just. It starts out with the first verse again.
Right.
With the ghost in the wishing well.
Yeah.
But
up
then
until chains upon my feet.
Yeah.
Talking
Where
about.
It says, but stories always end.
And if you read between the lines, you'll know that I'm just trying to understand the feelings that you lack. So again, talking about like this reality crashing down around them, like going from the storybook romance into just cold reality. And
yeah, because it's like a direct address to the audience, his ex-wife. If you read between the lines of these similes I've been laying out, you'll know that I just am trying to understand. And then so this line is what I talked about in the intro, that he actually changes this line in live performances because his daughter asked him to. The feelings that you lack became the feelings that we lack.
Yeah, and I think that's probably a good change, like with foresight. It makes sense because really it was not. It sounds like he's blaming her here. Not necessarily. I think there's a reading where this just means that he doesn't understand her necessarily.
If you could read my mind, right?
Yeah, it's not saying that he didn't screw up, just that he, her feelings are the ones that he doesn't understand, or why does she seem to
he has
not
a grasp on his own?
Yeah. So, although I think the change is good, just to like clear it up a little bit, because clearly there, obviously that if you're talking about like, it does sound kind of blamey, like on first listen, and it takes a little bit more reading into. So, and yeah, it's like one word, so it goes by pretty fast.
He said in an interview that the difficulty with writing songs inspired by personal stories is that there is not always the emotional distance and clarity to make lyrical improvements such as the one his daughter suggested.
So
yeah, I think it just does make it clearer.
So it's nice when you do have a situation like that, and an artist can say like, yeah, it wasn't quite right. Like it makes more sense the other way, and can like have that maturity to make that change.
Yeah, and then from the feelings that you lack says, never thought I could feel this way. I've got to say that I just don't get it. So this time it's I never thought I could feel this way instead of act this way.
Yeah. And I mean, talking about act, I mentioned it seemed like that was the infidelity. Like I didn't think I was that kind of person. And then he talked about the feelings gone. So now he says, I don't think I never thought I could feel this way. And I think that's just an acknowledgement of like this endless love seemed to be there at the beginning of the relationship, and then now this happened, and now it's gone. And
Mm-hmm.
I could never have expected way back that it would just disappear like this.
Yeah, I never expected this absence where there was once something, and that's pretty much it. That's the lyrics.
Yeah, it's really 4 verses. The structure's kind of, it's got that like AABA thing, because really verse 1, 2, and 4 all kind of start the same way, and then verse 3 is the other verse.
Mm-hmm.
And the other, although verse 4 is almost like a combination of A and B, so it's almost like AAB, A/B kind of thing, because the
Right.
fourth verse is a bit extended and has some parts of the third verse. So yeah, I mean it's not like super duper complicated structurally, but
Mm-hmm.
he does some really nice things with the way he plays his guitar and the way the instruments work, and we'll talk about those in a sec. And yeah, sort of like how they weave in with the lyrics at the time, and just enhance what they're trying to say.
Yeah, they really do. Especially because he brings in strings on this piece, and it's it doesn't become this bombastic orchestra. It just kind of does some emotional punch ups on different parts.
Yeah, it manages to stay pretty subdued, even with
Mm-hmm.
like strings, which doesn't always happen.
Yeah, so it opens up. It's basically acoustic guitar, maybe like it might be 2 tracks of acoustic guitar.
Yeah, he also plays a 12 string usually,
Mm.
so it might just be kind of all those strings.
Right, because I know for sure he's doing the rhythm because there's just like a boom,
Oh, I see what you mean.
boom
Yeah, there's like
bass.
a rhythm underneath.
Yeah,
Yeah, which sometimes, I mean, he does some picking, I think, so, or finger picking. I could have to
yeah,
double check on
and
that. Maybe not.
because they're in your right ear, you'll get these like down, 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 ba, ba,
Yeah,
boom, and then the left is more of that rhythm.
right,
There's actually like 2 rhythms. There's kind of like a dun 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 dun, like an arpeggio, and then just like a solid bass, dum dum dum.
right. And then the strings do come in, and they kind of play along with him.
Yeah, they tend to follow the vocal melody like very
Yeah,
closely.
not like exactly,
Yeah, but
but
they're
they
like in
still kind
the
of follow along in the same place. They're kind of
mm-hmm.
enhancing it. And then really when he gets to certain lines, it's more sparse at the start, but like in particular, um, the like I will never be set free line, I think is where it first happens.
Right.
He starts to like, or whoever's playing that guitar starts to pick faster, and that's where the kind of intensity ramps up a bit.
Mm-hmm. And that's when the strings start to go in. So that's like 37 to about 48 seconds is that first kind of run where things like start to go up. And then right when you think it's gonna keep going, it just like fizzles out.
Yeah, and just kind of like plays that introductory riff, the ba-na-na, na-na-na,
Mm-hmm.
in between the verses, and then like goes into another verse, very similar to the first time. So it's kind of
Yeah.
the same thing again.
And it's so the strings kind of like because it takes them about I think 30 seconds for the strings to actually come in, but then they are pretty much there throughout the song.
Yes, yes, and I think verse 2, like I mentioned, that fast picking. I really like the effect of that fast picking, so I'm gonna talk about it a lot.
Yeah, talk about it.
But I don't. It just this song is about like thoughts, really,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of happens at times where it seems like the thoughts are like starting to pick up. It really gets this has this feeling of like his mind's racing suddenly, but then like falling back into this kind of like depressed state almost.
Yeah.
And just goes like back and forth. And then once you get to the third verse, it starts to happen more and more often. Like it's happening every couple of lines, like times like the movie queen line, and then of course at the end, I never thought I could act this way, and I don't know where we went wrong. It happens again, which is kind of the normal spot, but it really just that's to me like the tension ramp up in this song. It really happens just with that happening more frequently. It's not even really happening that different.
Yeah, it just is happening more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that is the kind of like the key. That's almost the climax of the song is the third verse, and you do get that sort of increase in the higher moments. And so yeah, it brings an idea of just like intensity of thought, but then still like the fruitlessness of it. He can't really think his way out of this problem.
Yeah, the song doesn't have like a conclusion really. It's just kind of acknowledging that this is happening and has to like continue with it and live with it.
Yeah, and this like it's not a fade out at the end of this song. We just kind of get the guitar kind of just gently takes us down at the end. It kind of just does a slow run down.
It just does a quick little riff and then kind of like dun, 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 like resolves and then it's over. Which no, I thought I had something to say about that. It's totally gone. Sorry.
Well, yeah, it's what's interesting with that dun, 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 is that the strings do that or did between like verses throughout the song.
Right.
It's a little more high energy. And then we get that same musical phrase, but with a much sadder toned instrument. It really,
it's
really
almost
puts a dampener on it.
It's almost like the musical equivalent of a sigh, like just this like exhalation. It's like okay, and then just, it's over. Like I've said my part, and that's it.
That's it.
And fuck. I swear, like this thought is like in my brain. It's not quite coming out though. I think I might have to abandon
Alex,
it.
If only I could read your mind.
Hey!
Is it about how at 30 seconds there's like this weird noise, like very low in the mix?
What does it sound like?
It kind of sounds like an email notification to me.
Oh, well, did he get an email when he was recording the song in 1970?
I don't know. Maybe it's just kind of like a. Oh.
Let me listen to
like
it.
At the 30-second mark, it's low in the mix, so you might not pick up on it.
Yeah, it sounds like a beep.
Yeah.
Could be a beep. I mean, beeps existed before email.
That's true.
Someone could have just missed it. I mean, we found what we think are mistakes in mixes before. I also wonder if there's a way, like, because back when, like, analog was the thing, you had to, like, do things with tape physically. So you could fuck up tape. I wonder if there's a way you can fuck up tape that makes a very quiet beeping sound.
Maybe. Who knows?
Nothing that I know of can do that, but maybe.
Man, Alex, I had a note here. I was going to make a poop joke during the lyrics.
Oh, man. That would have been...
Actually, there's two poop jokes I could have made.
Fun.
First, he says, enter number 2.
Cha!
That's the poop number, Alex. And then, as a callback to the episode we released 2 weeks ago now, but recorded last week, Foreigners, I Want to Know What Love Is, he read between the lines. We made a joke about butts last time with that.
We did. What was it?
It was because I got you to talk about spies, and then I said, "Oh, Alex, I think you're talking about Austin Powers." And then you said there was a lot of fart jokes in the song, and I was like, "Oh yeah, like read between the lines. It's a butt crack."
It's a butt crack. Oh man, that would have added some levity to our discussion about a song about a divorce.
Yeah, certainly would have. Alex, did you? This has all been me just trying to give you time to see if you could find that thought. Have you found it, or are we gonna move on?
No, I think we need to move on.
All right, let's enter the cover town. Let's get under the covers. Have I tried that one yet? That's a good.
Surely you have.
Yeah,
I would be
probably.
shocked if you hadn't. I found maybe a music video, but it was clearly not from the 70s, and I don't know who made it, so let's ignore it.
Like a fan music video. I was gonna say I looked at a live performance here, and last week on the bonus episode, we had a segment about what celebrities we thought our team members looked like. Check out the bonus segment, people. And Gordon Dowdy kind of looks like you in this, Alex.
In which in which
like a
video?
1970s live performance.
1972.
He's got your
BBC?
kind of hair, and he's got a
so
mustache.
loud, so loud. Because of his curly hair.
Yeah.
And his vest. I'd wear a vest like that. And that
Would
striped
fucking
shirt
wear
like
a
that.
vest.
He doesn't have a mustache, though. He has a mustache sometimes.
Yeah, he's got a mustache in the one I was looking at.
All right, then I'm not watching the right one.
Fucking
Oh, here it
idiot.
is. Live TV performance. Is that the one?
Yeah, probably. Hang on, let me yeah, live TV performance.
He's got like a big fucking ring on.
Yeah, just like you always have.
Just like my big fucking ring. Sure, I can see it. A bit.
A bit.
Cause some, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Put some glasses on that bastard.
Some glasses. Throw
I'll be
those
like, Alex,
glasses
get
on.
off the stage. Gordon
Who
Lightfoot's
do you
supposed
think
to be
you
playing.
are? What's with your dumb ring?
Did you get that at the merch booth?
Why'd you steal that guitar? All right, does he have a hat pin on? All right, that's enough of that. Let's talk about another cover.
Let's talk about Barbra Streisand's version in
Barbra
1971.
If you could read my mind, love, what a tale my thoughts could tell. Just like an old-time movie about a ghost from a wishing well.
Alex,
Yeah.
I primarily know Barbra Streisand from that dance song that goes, Barbra Streisand.
Yeah, same. That and like she was in that movie with Seth Rogen that I didn't see.
Really?
Road
What
Trip?
movie was Barbra? I never saw that one either.
Or something like that. Yeah, I didn't see that. So
Barbra Streisand
is a successful recording artist and actress from the past who is still alive.
It's called The
but
Guilt
is-
Trip,
The
Alex.
Guilt Trip. That's what it's called. That's close,
And
right?
I haven't seen it.
She won a Best Actress Academy Award in 1968.
Okay.
So considering I know very little about her and have hardly seen her at all, I think she just like got old and did less stuff in public.
That sounds about right.
But maybe I don't even know if she's released music.
She's
in
also
a
known
while,
for the Streisand effect,
which means
which is like when you want to cover something up, don't do that.
oh right,
Let me
you
give you
like
the
draw
Wikipedia
attention to it.
definition.
Like if someone
Yeah.
says, "Hey, Jake Cressy fucks goats," and you're like, "Oh man, I've never fucked a goat in my life. If you think I fuck goats, maybe you fuck goats." And then they'll be like, "That Jake Cressy is really drawing a lot of attention to the concept
yeah.
of goat fucking, and maybe
It's like
fucks
Jake
goats."
Cressy's selling goat farm, and I'm like, I'd never touch those goats. Yeah, a phenomenon whereby an attempt to hide, remove, or censor a piece of information has the unintended consequence of publicizing the information more widely.
So is it something that she did that?
So
was-
yeah, in 2005, in relation to a hang on, the term. Hang on. Oh, that's the origin of the term. So yeah, it's named after Barbra Streisand, whose 2003 attempt to suppress photographs of her residence in Malibu, California, inadvertently drew further public attention to it.
Right. Yes, I have heard of that. I just completely forgot what it was.
Well, now you can completely remember it.
Now I can completely remember it for a bit and forget it again later.
That's right.
But first,
Barbra Streisand.
so this was 1971. So this was like right after the song was released.
Yeah, because the song hit the American billboards. It topped at number 5 in February of 1971.
And this was also 1971, so it's pretty quick afterwards. And I there's a story in that documentary about like when they were saying like the album came out as Sit Down Young Stranger and sold like 60,000 copies or something like that, which is not a lot. And then the record people, and then If You Could Read My Mind was getting some airplay, so the record people were like, "Yo, we got to rename this album." And then supposedly Gordon Lightfoot was not a fan of that at the time, and like flew to LA or whatever to talk to them and was like, "Why do you want to rename my album?" And the guy was like, let me put this to you algebraically. The difference between not renaming the album and renaming the album is X and 7X. So he used very mathematical terms, but then they renamed the album and sold like 650,000 copies. So it did a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
These were the numbers from the documentary.
Do you think when Gordon Lightfoot like busted into the studio, he's like, sit down, young stranger, and let me tell you something.
let me tell you a little something about my album name. Anyway, he still plays this song, so I guess he likes it well enough.
Likes it well enough.
So this one has even more guitar at the beginning.
Yes.
But it opens, and this happens in a lot of them, with like the melody. They're like on the guitar, which does not happen in the original. It happens in a lot of covers.
Yeah. So yeah, it sets up the melody, and then you get a little, like, some piano coming in with that guitar. And we had a drum beat on this, which is not present in the original.
Yes, that was another thing mentioned in the documentary. That the person said they thought because the way Gordon Lightfoot played the guitar was fairly percussive, that was why he was able to get away with not having a drummer for a long time. Anyway, I keep bringing up this documentary. I spent 90 minutes on it, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And what else happens in this version? Guitar? Drums?
Yeah. Drums?
Singing?
Yeah,
and then there's some
more
piano that comes
strings.
in, too.
Yeah. And a bit, like, very soft piano.
And
Barbra Streisand.
not someone I've heard sing a lot, if at all. Very, like, trained sounding voice. Like, she's singing pretty high here to start, and she does sound very practiced and, like, professional. So, right on, I guess.
Yeah, and she does, like, it's more, it sounds professional, whereas, like, Gordon Lightfoot's has a little more, like, lo-fi charm, I guess you could call it. I guess it sounds more like a folk tune than
Yeah,
what this
absolutely.
sounds like.
He was part of that folk revival. And, to reference the documentary again, one of the things he said he always thought about, like, he just wanted to be better at playing the guitar. He always focused on his guitar playing, and just, like, the singing happened as well, which is like, fuck you, dude. You sound really good.
Yeah, you fucking piece
a
of
dope
shit.
voice.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But, like, I guess I respect the logic behind that. This is my own dumb version of it, but I guess it was in December. I was like, I want to crack a fucking egg with one hand. And so I just started doing that. And then I was like, well, I've done this. Now I want to be able to crack it with the other hand. And so now I'm at the point where I can crack 2 eggs at the same time into a bowl.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
It feels cool. It's super fucking easy to do, especially if
very
you're,
cool.
I have an omelet every day. So, like, I was able to get in the practice 2 times a day every day.
All right. I got to learn that now because I eat 2 eggs every day.
Do it. It feels dope to get it right.
Okay. All right.
But, like, I feel like that's kind of the approach Gordon Lightfoot took. He's like, eventually, he's like, well, I've conquered this much guitar. A way to be a better, like, guitar player / performer is to be able to play and sing. So then he just fucking probably did that.
Right. Yeah, I guess so. Just, like, add more distractions until you're better at the thing you're trying to do. Haven't really tried that myself, but maybe.
Yeah, that's the only format I've had where I've tried that and have been willing to stick with it without calling myself an idiot. You know, it's cracking eggs.
You gotta start somewhere. You gotta crack a few eggs to make an omelet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right.
I know what you're saying, Alex.
Back to Barbra.
Back to Barbra. There's not a lot to talk about in the Barbra version.
No, not really.
We have to admit.
It's pretty straightforward. They make the arrangement a lot more, like, generic, I guess. Like, there's some guitar, obviously, and some piano playing. The piano does kind of have a progression throughout each verse of, like, playing a couple notes, a measure, to playing consistently, and then to just, like, banging out some chords. But, like, other than that, not a ton.
Yeah, it's more musical, you know? It's like, it's got this drum beat. It's got a strong rhythm behind it.
Right.
By adding more, we sort of lose some of the intimacy of the original, I think.
Definitely. You get that when it's any kind of, like, more more production tends to have that effect, and this definitely has more like money behind it, or at least it's less of like some guys in a studio doing a folk thing, or that's my perception, which is probably super duper biased, but it sounds that way, and I'm assuming it's like more so. Nah, I gotta stop making these claims because I don't know if they're.
I would
gonna be
say
true.
to maybe help you out here. It's bigger. It's like
It is.
when it's more melodramatic. It's like God, the pain of love.
Yes, she definitely goes up a lot more. Like the intensity, the tension doesn't just come from the instrumentation. She really gets a volume increase at the ends of the verses, where that intensity does increase in the original. But she gets this like she starts to like distort the mic.
Yeah.
Like it really gets that. It starts to break up there, and I don't know if that happens. You hear that a lot in music, and I never know if it is because they're actually just singing too powerfully, because that's clearly what it's trying to invoke, or if they just add an effect and make it distort the vocals. And it's really case by case for me whether I do like that effect, because like I actually think it works pretty well in this case, because it kind of sounds like she's leaning away from the mic a bit, but still is sort of overpowering it.
Right.
But then there's
like we said, she's a trained professional here, so she's trying to not hit that distortion, but it still happens, and that adds a bit of that human element in.
Yeah, and I think I do like that. But then, and I know it happens like sometimes in like Led Zeppelin songs, and I think they do a pretty good job of it. Another example is The Darkness does that sometimes, most notably, or at least most memorably for me, in their Hotcakes album. And I find that is a little hit or miss. Like sometimes it's fine, but sometimes it really seems like they're just like throwing in an effect to make it sound like they were overpowering the mics, but weren't really. And there's definitely other times, and I can't think of any other examples, but I feel like there are times where it just like does not work, totally falls flat. Although I do like Hotcakes for the most part.
Yeah, I like that album. And Darkness is tough like that, because they ride this weird line between being a genuine band and being a parody.
Right, and sometimes it's hard to tell what they're doing at any point in time.
So I could see that distortion being used as a parodic element, but at the same time, it could just be them genuine doing it because they obviously like that style of music and they're just trying to evoke that.
Right. I mean, there's even on that album, he talks about like his life changing when he heard Communication Breakdown on a cassette tape. Like that's clearly they're into Led Zeppelin, which does that kind of stuff sometimes. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it's bigger, it's more showy, and it's the same length as the original, so like it's pretty close, follows it pretty closely.
Yeah. So and I think she does still manage in hitting hard. She pulls in some of those show ideas of pain and love, and it's it doesn't necessarily make it better or worse than the original. I think it provides a take on love and heartbreak that is something people respond to.
Yeah, it's just more of like a pop interpretation of kind of the same ideas.
But from this, we're gonna move into like very show tuney.
Very.
This one's actually technically a medley, medley. It's Liza Minnelli, and hang on, wait, let me try that again. Ladies and gentlemen, Liza Minnelli.
If you could read my mind, love, what a tale the thoughts could tell. Just like an old-time movie about a ghost from a wishing well, in a castle dark or a fortress strong.
Liza Minnelli.
1974.
So Liza Minnelli is someone who I only know from Arrested Development. She played Lucille Estero, or Lucille 2, on Arrested Development, and I knew she had some connection with Broadway, mostly because of the fourth season of Arrested Development.
Okay.
But I didn't look it up before that.
Well, I kind of knew because she is in the movie Sex and the City 2. At the start, she actually performs All the Single Ladies by Beyonce, I believe.
Oh, that's fun. Or is it fun? I don't know.
It's no.
I haven't
Sex
seen
and the City 2
Sex
is a
and the
bad
City
film.
2, so
I was gonna say, that was before we really officialized the watching a bad movie.
Yeah, I wasn't invited to Grown Ups 2 or Sex and the City 2. Just
Two
just
very
so we're
bad
not
movies.
talking too esoterically, we have a bad movie night monthly, and we've been doing it for a couple years now, and that was kind of the start of it. Was those two movies,
Yeah,
but
it's
I wasn't
based
going
on-
at the
yeah.
time because they were I think, fairly off the cuff.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't really planning, and I just wasn't around. And then we
We
started
weren't around, and
planning.
it
them,
was like primarily for people to get shit faced. So
which is, yeah. I always spell piano wrong in my notes. I always miss the A. I don't know why.
Piano. So interestingly, this is a medley of "If You Could Read My Mind" and "Come Back to Me." "Come Back to Me" is by a French guy by the names of Yves Montand. That's Yves Montand. I don't know if you say the S.
That's not the
on
names I
that
have.
name. Really?
Yeah, I have "Come Back to Me," which is from a musical called "On a Clear Day You Can See Forever" by
Okay.
Alan J. Lerner and Burton Lane.
You might be right. There's a version of that song though that is by Yves Montand.
There's a lot of versions
with
of
Barbra
this song.
Streisand. So I thought maybe
Yes.
that was the original. But you're
So
probably right. It's from this musical.
It took me a while to find that because there's a Sammy Davis Jr. version as well. So I thought it might be a Sammy Davis Jr. song because Liza Minnelli also sang this song, just "Come Back to Me," for a Sammy Davis Jr. tribute. But it does seem to be from this musical, "On a Clear Day You Can See Forever."
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
And it is from it was written in 1926, and it was produced
Damn,
in
son.
Broadway in the 60s and the 2010s. But yeah, it's like an old musical.
Okay.
So yeah,
in
it kind of goes back and forth
1970,
between the two.
Yeah,
songs.
yeah. So in 1970, they actually released "On a Clear Day You Can See Forever" as a movie, by the looks of it, and that starred Barbra Streisand and this Yves Montand dude. So,
I see. Yeah, so there's a number of versions of people singing this song throughout the years because it's been around for quite a while. It's from the 20s. And let's see what this one. Yeah, like it's very showy.
Very over
but
the
like
top,
more
right
so,
from
like
the
they've
bat.
got a whole like band here playing with horns, and there's like flutes
Yeah.
and piano. And she kind of sings like la 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 la
it's
la la
the most
la
like
la.
over the top.
Yeah, it's
showy
very
intro.
it's very dramatic, and like they like put this like salsa rhythm in it. Like it's very very different from the last two.
Yeah.
Like it's much more active, and she's kind of almost like, I mean, obviously we're just doing audio here. I didn't see a video of it, but she's got this like almost like breathless, desperate sound to her. Like she's
Yeah,
I don't
very
know.
staccato with
She's-
the lines. If you could read my mind.
yeah, like there's kind of this. I mean, they changed the context of the song a little bit because now it's combined with this "Come Back to Me" song, so it's less of like we need to accept this and move on, and more like come back, like literally come back to me. So they do change the context of the "If You Could Read My Mind" parts.
Yeah. Because she says the feeling's gone and I want to get it back.
Yeah, and stuff.
And I've never, we've talked about a few medley versions, and usually they're just kind of haphazardly thrown together. It's one song, then the next.
Right.
This one, they've actually merged them in a way that is, that makes them actually like connect together.
Yeah, and like tweak them a little bit. I can't really speak for "Come Back to Me" if that changed at all. But there are some like slight changes just to make them fit together even better.
Yeah. She
So-
actually, at the 2:05 mark, she merges two lines. So she merges one line from "If You Could Read My Mind" with the other song.
just listening for it.
So it's like it's a bit before 2:05.
She said like where the heartache comes, the love that didn't dawn. Is that the line
Yeah.
you're talking about?
Yeah.
So that's actually from the other song.
I assume so.
Okay.
And if not, she's built original words to bridge to the two.
Yeah, it's a pretty like, I don't know. It's a weird line to just throw in there out of nowhere, right? The love that didn't dawn. Like
Mm-hmm.
just randomly. Like I feel like it's not just nonsense.
Yeah, so it's like this one is if I say fails to capture the sort of the devastating heartbreak, but it merges these songs together fairly well for what it's doing.
Yeah, and it's not really doing the well. It is kind of like it's more. It sounds more like it's begging them back, begging them to come back, which is really what it is. I'm surprised it's not "Come Back to Me" / "If You Could Read My Mind" almost. Because it really takes that other song and kind of inserts it into If You Could Read My Mind. Well, I guess then that would make sense the way it is. Doesn't matter.
I think it works either way, because I think the Come Back to Me parts are the bigger parts of the song.
Yes.
It goes huge, and it's...
Yeah, and it really has a much more, like, we talked about how the Barbra Streisand version was a bit more showy, but this is, like, taking that to, like, extreme, and it's much more performative, I think. So I suspect if there was a visual aspect, because it is a live, I believe, performance, that might add a bit to it.
Yeah. But it's in terms of, like, as a cover of If You Could Read My Mind, I think it is a failing, because it just, like, it rips so much out that is good out of that song, but in the sense that it's effectively combined these two songs, as the strange gimmick that it is good, but nobody was asking for it, you know?
Yeah, I see, and I don't know if that's true. I mean, Liza Minnelli seems to have her fans, so
I guess
this is like Legends of Broadway, Liza Minnelli. So
I'm thinking now of the famous Frank Zappa soundbite, where the guy says, "I want to hear Caravan with the drum solo," but some fucking dude in the audience being like, "I want to hear Come Back to Me with If You Could Read My Mind,"
and Liza Minnelli's like, "Perfect."
It's like, yeah, you got it.
And yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty successful. Not like really my style, but making it maybe a little bit broader in terms of like the way it expresses this feeling of a relationship ending. And it does it pretty effectively.
Yeah, or I guess in, like, the original, the idea is that it has ended and that it is over. We cannot get the feeling back. This is maybe a more common sensation in the end of relationships, where you're like, "Come back to me. I love you so much, baby."
Yeah, it kind of maintains like the song, the idea from the song where it's like, well, but this is reality. Like we're not living in a storybook, but this is almost the storybook version. You know, so it does kind of cheapen it a bit, but in a different.
But I mean, yeah, if it's good
song
for a show, I mean, what do you do, right? Yeah. With that, we're gonna jump into our first Dance the Pain Away version, which is Viola Wills in 1980.
If you could read my mind, love, what a tale my thoughts could tell. Just like an old-time movie about a ghost from a wishing well.
What movie is it, Alex? Is it Footloose or is it Dirty Dancing, where the guy dances in the warehouse?
That is Footloose. I just watched Dirty Dancing a couple weeks ago. It's definitely not that.
Yeah,
that's the like the punch dancing scene parody in Hot Rod and also Flight of the Conchords.
But it seems to be like a real idea people have, because with this version, we're talking about Viola Wills along with at least two other versions here. Yeah, two other versions that are like dance remixes, essentially.
Yeah.
And there's a song by it's Nikki and the Dove called. I should have had this fucking preloaded, but there's a line in this song called fucking, what is it called? I gotta find this song.
All right.
But she says, "I keep dancing by myself to make the hurt go away. The hurt go away." Yeah, it's "You Stole My Heart Away" by Nikki and the Dove.
Ah. Okay, so what was that line again?
I keep dancing by myself to make the hurt go away.
And and you think that's what's happening? That's what Viola Wills is doing? Did you watch the music video?
No, I did not.
It's mostly just her dancing by herself.
Okay.
So
I watched the Stars on 54 music video.
Yes, that is not dancing by yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is like I wanted to call them disco drums. Are they disco drums? I don't know disco.
Yeah, this is 100% like a disco rhythm. She's her genres, according to Wikipedia, are funk, disco, and dance. And I would call this all of the above.
Yeah. D. All of the above. Yeah, it comes in with like heavy cymbals and like there's these horns being like what's interesting about the horns here?
Yeah.
Oftentimes when you get these kind of like funky versions, the horns are really like quick and sharp, but these horns are playing pretty even and like not too fast, you know?
Yeah, they sound almost
They're pretty
like
smooth.
like anachronistic compared to the rest of the track, right?
Yeah.
Because fundamentally this is like a disco rhythm track with Viola Wills singing over it, and then you get these almost lazy sounding horns, or the
Yeah, it does sound weird. And I don't know exactly how I feel about it yet.
I think the horns are supposed to fill the purpose of the strings in the original,
Right.
where they help to punch up the strong vocal lines.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I feel, for me, they feel out of place, and so I don't think they help with the vocal lines.
Yeah, this version fell a little flat for me. I don't know. It was fine. But like I usually am just like I often like these older, like kind of funkier disco-y dance versions.
Mm-hmm.
But this one not so much. Or I have a lot lately, anyway.
Right. Well, I like her voice on it. I think she's got a good voice. It's got a bit of that huskiness we talked about in I Want to Know What Love Is, which I think sells me on Heartbreak for some reason. If you got a little bit of
I
grit
believe you
going
if your
on.
voice is deeper, 'cause you sound more like a man, toots.
Yeah, the only one's capable of heartbreak. Maybe, but
so we can relate.
Yeah, I think the bass on this is like, I think the rhythm track is like groovy, and I was bobbing my head along to it.
Yeah, it's
So
solid.
If nothing else, it's catchy.
Like a lot of the parts are solid. I don't know if I was sold on the whole thing though.
I think the horns hold it back.
They are a little out of place. I do agree with you on that. But like there's some fun stuff in it. Like there's these like piano gliss that leads us into the verse, and like it's the 80s. Well, it's 1980. So like there's some synth pad stuff going on when the horns aren't in, and like the bass, pretty solid bass line too. You know, like the rhythm section is really doing its thing.
Yeah.
There's also slightly, so she swaps out the like gendered versions of words on this. So she says heroine instead of hero.
Yeah.
But she also says movie king instead of movie queen. I've never heard movie king. I've heard movie queen replace movie star. I've never heard movie king replace movie star. Is that, I don't know. Doesn't really matter.
I don't know. I figure once you're at
that.
the point of gender swapping, you're like, well,
I know, right?
I want to do it the full
like
way,
you might
right?
just go all the way. Might as well. And it doesn't really matter. Like we don't really use that term either. Have you ever heard movie queen outside of like
No.
British TV?
Not in my life.
I
man.
one time heard, I don't remember what the show was. It was some reality show. A British person said porn queen, and that is it. Instead of porn star. So I assume it's the same logic.
Must be.
Anyway, let's see. And she doesn't do the third verse.
She does.
She does do the third verse. Hang on.
She does. I think she does it twice, doesn't she?
Swaps out the third verse for the field. She does a different ending to the third verse, I think. No, you know what she does? Okay. I'm just trying to interpret my own notes. All she does is she says feel this way instead of act this way the whole time.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
Not
she
a lot.
does
Not a big change.
She does the third verse twice, though. The movie star one?
Yes, she does repeat the third verse.
So she does that at the 2-minute mark.
The movie
and then,
King one?
Yeah. And then she does it again, but I think she does a better job the second time. She puts a little more sass on it, she has a little more fun with it.
She's got that. I mean, I guess you got to build up that energy, but it's unfortunate when the first time has to be like not great, you know?
Yeah,
you gotta
like,
have a build up. But does that mean that the first time has to suck? I'm not saying it sucks.
Build up.
I'm not saying it sucks. But
I'm thinking about we talked about Otis Redding's cover of What a Wonderful World.
Right.
And I think he just goes right from the start on that one. Like we talked about how it was such a dynamic performance. He
That's
just
true.
fucking gives her from right from the point the vocals don't know much about history. Like you can just fucking
and he's just like doing all his ad
give her
libbing
from
and
the
stuff.
start.
That's true. It does work. Sometimes I think there's maybe too much effort going into making something build up when you're actually sacrificing something from the earlier parts at times.
It's you don't need a lengthy introduction if the meat of the piece is fucking good. People are going to like it, right? So just hit them with the best.
Yeah. Right from the start.
Yeah, sometimes a build-up's a cheap trick. I think that's what this song is missing, is having the repetition of the three-way script verse going just the whole time, like that kind of energy.
Right. Yeah, especially for like a dance version. And then there's a lot of like playing out. Like she does a lot of kind of ad-libbing and does some falsetto, and the horns are playing, and there's like backup vocalists who are not in the music video.
Yeah. If I could, it's a solid like genre ending. Backup vocals, her doing some come on, baby.
Yeah, exactly. And the video, there's not a whole lot to the video. It's it comes in and it's like a dark room, but there's lighting from the back, and you can see Viola Will's silhouette.
Yeah.
And then the camera kind of comes in on her, and the lighting's very green. It's kind of neat colors. It's very green, and then like she's wearing like a sparkly dress, but it's like very sheer.
It reminds me of Laura Branigan's Gloria.
Yeah, it's like
video.
that, but like negative. You know, like you turn the negative on your phone, and all the colors switch. It's darker.
Yeah, so instead of because the Branigan one is like bright and kind of golden.
Yeah.
This one's dark and green.
Oh, the Branigan one had a whole bunch of crystal balls in it. No, not crystal balls.
That's true.
Disco balls.
Disco balls, yeah.
That's what those are called. Yeah, there's not much to it. She mostly just dances and sings to the camera.
Yeah. Yeah, that's this one. Let's talk about another one. The next one is... So that's Stars on 54, 1998. So this is a reference to the Dutch pop group Stars on 45. This is apparently a Eurodance supergroup put together to make the soundtrack for 54, a movie about Studio 54, which is a New York City discotheque.
Did they do more than just this song?
It says they were put together to make the soundtrack, according to Wikipedia.
Ultra Nate.
Yeah, so you got three members. It's Ultra Nate, Jocelyn Enrique.
Oh, they only had one single. Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah, a single, you might say.
Which is this song. Yeah, sorry, I interrupted you.
So yeah, it was for the movie Studio 54, which is about a New York City discotheque. The movie was made in 1998 and stars Ryan Felipe, I don't know, and Salma Hayek, and Mike Myers is also in the film.
Neat. It's a song about a club and drugs, probably. Sex, maybe.
Yeah.
And they cut out the theatrical cut cuts out all the gay stuff, and then there's a director's cut where they put it back in.
They actually doubled down on gay stuff, cut out all the straight stuff.
Cut out all the straight stuff. It's like two completely different movies.
So yeah, Amber is a Dutch-German techno music singer. Ultra Nate is a African-American house music singer, and Jocelyn Enrique is a Filipino-American dance singer. So this is the version I knew.
This must be the version that I didn't necessarily know, but like that my sister heard, because I heard her singing the song around the house.
Right.
It had to have been this.
So when you
maybe
gave the playlist this week, you hadn't fully organized it yet. So this came on right after the original. And when I was listening to the original, something in the higher mom says, "Da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da." I'm like, this sounds familiar, but I don't know what song I've heard this in.
'Cause
And
it's
then
got
this
a
one came
really
on.
familiar, or it's got a really like distinctive melody.
Mm-hmm. And then I heard it in here, and I was like, oh fuck, this is the version I know.
Yes, and that was kind of my reaction too. Like as soon as I heard this one, I was like, this must have been it. Like it happened, it was the late 90s, right? So it would have been the right time period.
Yeah. It charted in Canada. I think it hit number 3. Yeah.
Yeah, so this has got to be it. But yeah, definitely like late 90s dance. Like way into that.
Yeah, straight up
That
from like the guitar that comes
scene.
in at the start, which is like, it sounds pretty Spanish influenced.
Yeah, it does
in
have.
terms of
That's like the
tone,
guitar. And there's a lot of this like these like ostinato patterns playing throughout where they'll like hold on, like just play a note over and over again to some rhythm.
Right.
But like, and of course, you know, like that kind of synthy stuff. Like it comes in with like these filter sweeps, you know, like on like cymbals go like and then plays that guitar.
Yeah.
And then like
Yeah.
some various like synthesizer sounds, and they make their little, you know, intro, ooh babe, whatever.
Yeah,
and
so
then
you got the ambient synth in the back, and then like some other shit going on.
yeah, and then have the like chime thing, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I think we've talked about it before because it does come up
Yeah.
sometimes. I don't know what to call it. It's like a chime.
Yeah, it's like that's all I got for you is like a chime. It's like somewhere between a chime and you know, something that you use to keep time. What is that called?
A clock.
No, the like the one for
A
specifically
metronome.
for rhythm. Yes, a metronome.
Metronome. Yeah, it does have that sound to it too. And they kind of like sing the first part of the verse, and then you get these, and then like the drums come in, and there's like the bass too,
Yeah.
like drum machine kind of thing with this like clap.
Yeah,
sound.
drum machine, synth bass.
So this one, I think this one, like overall, more successful as a like dance version than
Yeah.
the Viola.
Maybe that's
Wills
just
one.
our sensibilities as people born in the 90s, but
Yeah, maybe. It's tough to say. And then during the verses in particular, well, they're all verses, but this one kind of does something different because it swaps out the end of all of the verses for the same lines, and it kind of creates a chorus. Maybe it's more of a refrain in this context, but it kind of turns it into this like dance pop song by playing with the structure.
Right. And that's that ending it puts on is that the I don't know where
Yes.
we went wrong.
They kind of like all
and
change
they hit it with the high strings on there too.
Get it back. And then there's that's where one of the ostinato pattern comes in.
Mm-hmm.
That sound where it's just like
Right.
basically the same thing, and they're just like kind of like strumming in that pattern. Or I assume it's a
Oh,
guitar,
yeah.
but it might be something else. But yeah,
Yeah, that's like a classic pattern.
yeah, totally.
This is this is like textbook Euro dance, really. Like if you
Yeah,
need to
really.
explain it to somebody, like from the tone of the electric bass to the synth strings and the singing, like yeah.
Yeah, and then it kind of like even like there's this, like short little boom 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 like bass line between the verses is that instead. Before it was like soft picking, you know, on the
Yeah.
guitar, but now it's very much like keep dancing, don't stop,
Yeah.
can't stop.
And then what's interesting about this one is they changed the line from the hero would be me to the hero would be you.
Yeah, I'm struggling to understand the implications of that
I think it just I feel like it makes the line uglier.
because you're like
'Cause it-
putting it on the other person.
Yeah, it shifts blame in a way that is not you know, like humble or willing to admit fault.
Yeah, that was kind of my first reaction, and I wasn't sure, but it really is like, you're the hero here, man, and you failed, like,
Yeah, and you failed.
as you often do. Jeez, maybe it fits in with the movie. I don't know.
Maybe, and I guess like it speaks to betrayal, which is maybe more accurate to the original context that inspired the song,
Yeah,
which is Gordon Lightfoot's infidelity.
yeah. So then they sing those first two verses. Sorry, the hero part. Does that happen in the third verse?
It happens several times. They do
Oh,
it
right.
at least twice. Yeah.
But there's also between the verses, I believe after the second verse, they like get their sort of bridge section, which is their other thing they add, where it's like the bass plays and they kind of do their if you could,
Right.
if you could. So
If
it just
you
like
could
repeats that line.
read my
Yeah.
mind.
So that's their sort of like transition bridge section that. Yeah, they basically like three things, as far as I'm concerned, got added to this version, and that is, they replaced the ends of all the verses with a refrain, and treated it in that like kind of chorus way where they would all come up then and all sing. They added this bridge section, and they added a whole bunch of ostinato patterns,
Yeah.
which is to say like 2 or 3.
Which makes for like a much less like depressing version, because I played this for Greta and she's like, oh yeah, I know this version, and then I played with the original and she's just like, holy fuck, like this is depressing.
Yeah, so it really changes the feeling, but makes it like this much more danceable song. And I think, like, having not seen the movie, I think it kind of fits in with this idea of like these struggles and relationships that are kind of forming and failing, but like in the context of a nightclub, which is ostensibly there for like fun times.
Mm-hmm.
But like kind of everything's failing around this upbeat atmosphere.
Yeah. And you know, even when a relationship fails, you just gotta dance on, you know, dance the pain away.
Yeah, you just gotta dance the pain away. And like teleport sometimes and then change into red clothes.
Yeah, that was confusing in the music video. It's just like, and now we're in red clothes.
And now there's a clip of a guy rubbing money on himself. Probably from the movie.
Yeah. So like the music video is pretty traditional in that it's clips of the group singing and also clips from the film.
Yep. And it's like, I don't know, I feel like the music video is very of its time. It's like them standing in a like triangle pattern, doing synchronized dances, singing at the camera. It's probably 420p, 480p rather, 420p. And then like they teleport to different rooms sometimes.
Yeah.
And
they're very like some of the rooms are like a kind of like a Rubik's Cube kind of thing, you know, those dance floors that are like little lit up squares in different colors.
Yeah, which is kind of
It's
cool
just that
looking.
but for a whole room. Yeah, it's cool.
And then they change to red clothes suddenly, and then like they're in, I assume, this Studio 54 club.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're actually in the movie, but it certainly looks like they were not in the movie and they were just like added through editing.
Yeah, I think
Like-
that's the maybe the trick. It's like, whoa,
Yeah.
remember the hit movie? Now these guys are in it.
Except the movie was not a hit,
No.
but they are in it.
They're in it.
Dancing in red
Dancing.
clothes. Yeah.
That's right. With that, we're going to talk about the 2007 cover by Scala and the Kolacny brothers.
If you could read my mind, love, what a tale my thoughts could tell. Just like an old-time movie.
Did we talk about these guys before?
Yes, they did Black Hole Sun.
Black Hole Sun.
So now, for this version, I will exclusively be using my notes from Black Hole Sun instead of the ones I wrote for this song.
All right. Lay it on
They're a
me.
Belgian girls' choir conducted by one of the Kolacny brothers with the other on piano. It's mostly covers, although they have their own compositions as well. There's a piano at the start.
There is. There's piano throughout. A Pino, if you want to believe my notes.
Not a piano, if you want to believe Bing
Fucking
Crosby.
Bing Crosby. Piano.
it's this is here's a note I had from the Black Hole Sung version. It needs a second element. All this is piano, some violin on this one, and this choir singing. It's like it's like that Garfield without Garfield comic strip, except not good.
It's just like weirdly hilarious because it's just a guy talking to nobody or like smiling.
Yeah, and having just like sad thoughts appear out of nowhere.
This is definitely lacking. Like, damn it, how many times do I misspell piano in like 3? All right. And like there's a bit like it's piano and them like chanting. And I seem to remember liking the Black Hole Sun version a bit because of the subject matter, maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm
'cause
thinking of a
it
different
works
choral
little
version from a
better.
different song, but I seem to remember liking it, at least somewhat. But this one really falls flat. I put it in because I was like, yeah, choral version, and then listened to like the first 5 seconds, but it does not change. Like the piano gets a bit like starts playing higher. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, the piano starts to pick up again in the last minute.
Yeah, and it like often follows the vocal melody anyway, so they're just kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah, and it definitely could have been shorter. This version runs what, 5:11, 5:10.
Yeah, it is slow. They're like slowly chanting. The other reason I put it in is the album's called One Winged Angel. I thought there might be a Final Fantasy connection. There is not.
Is there not?
There is not. I mean,
What the
maybe.
fuck?
I mean, they're a choral group, so it's not a choral
Yeah, that
song,
seems like
right?
that seems like a home run for a choral group.
Do they
Because that
chant
has
in
like a
One Winged
choir
Angel?
in it, doesn't it?
I don't know. I don't know the Final Fantasy 7 stuff. Oh no, they do have it on there. Okay, they do have it on there. But yeah. So unfortunately, this one disappointed, and I really don't have much to say about it.
I mean, I guess I could say that piano picks up about halfway through the choir, and then the choir goes way up for the line "Won't you come?"
Come, like that.
Yeah, that's actually again, I'm using my notes from the Black Hole Sun version. So,
Okay.
so there is no line in this that says "Won't you come?"
I thought I just heard "come," and I was like, yeah, they just shout "come" really loud. Great.
Fucking choirs, man.
Oh, choirs.
Yeah, that's it. And again, I have exclusively used my notes from the Black Hole Sun version because it's the same shit.
Same shit. All right. Coming up next, not Olivia Newton-John, which is who I was looking for when I found this version on Spotify. Olivia Fries-Farr.
If you could read my mind, love, what a tale my thoughts could tell. Just like an old-time movie about a ghost from a wishing well. In a castle.
Yeah, I believe it would be Freeze. I don't think it's
Fries-Farr.
Fries-Farr.
Fries-Farr. I went to her website, but it's very busy, and it was hard to
Yeah,
find. Did
hard
you
to
look
parse
at it?
information. So I looked at both her webpage and her Facebook page. They basically say the same thing on there. Olivia Fries-Farr is a young teen singer, songwriter, and musician. Olivia has completed Sunset Love Tonight, Ugly Boy, and 3 albums. Live performances, TBA.
There's also one of the images on her website just says female dick. Last train leaving Bakersfield. I don't know what it is. A book maybe.
Female dick, as in like a female detective.
I think so. Yeah. It's the picture. It's like a book cover, and it's like a woman riding a horse in Bakersfield.
Okay.
There's a sign that says Bakersfield, and it says female dick. Last train leaving Bakersfield.
Female dick.
So that's fun. Oh, it's a comic book.
Oh.
Did she write it?
I don't know. Yeah, her fucking web design is terrible, and whoever
No, she
put it together should be shot.
Yeah. It's a real busy web page, and it's hard to find anything. Yeah. So this version.
So she's from California. This version opens with what I can only describe as like a VHS tape unraveling kind of sound.
Yeah, it's that kind of like rewind, but something went wrong sound.
Yeah. And then we get an echoey, if I could read your mind, and somebody speaking Spanish below the track.
Yes, and then there's other like do 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 kind of uses that sound with some synthesizers as like the filters slowly open and like make it a regular sound and not a filtered one.
Yeah, not
And
that
then
like through the
drum
wall
machine.
kind of noise. So I tried to get Greta to translate the Spanish because she knows some Spanish.
Right?
It's something about a story and us.
Yeah.
So it's probably something, you know.
Something about our story, possibly even ending.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I got there.
Sweet.
We get hand claps coming in with some guitar that comes in sounding clean and just kind of like pop rocky, but it almost immediately starts doing like really country sounding runs.
Yes, this one interests me because it kind of does the dance thing in a similar way to Stars on 54 in terms of the instrumentation, but it ends up maintaining a lot of that like sort of more country roots, even though it's like kind of folk country, but it like it keeps like country around and plays like very country sounding guitar, and then like later on throw some tambourine in, which even kind of supports that.
Right. So it manages to be this genre hybrid between the Stars on 54 version and Gordon Lightfoot's.
Yeah, and I think it's actually a pretty decent version.
Yeah. I'm not crazy about it, but in terms of like she's I guess still a teenager probably for Pages to be believed. This is one of the more adventurous covers we've heard from sort of more inexperienced musicians.
Yeah, like it all sounds like pretty good, and there's nothing like to me that's glaring as like an obvious like beginner mistake kind of thing.
I would say the most obvious beginner mistake we encounter is just playing the song straight.
Fair enough. I mean, compared to the Stars in 54, which kind of changes the structure around to make it more like pop dance digestible. This really doesn't do any of that kind of stuff. Although I think it still does a pretty... I don't know if it needs to, because it still kind of like treats it in the same way.
Yeah. And she does so she does like kind of double track on her vocals, I think, where the one below it is this weird like robotic sounding one. I don't know if that's 2 tracks or if that's just a vocal effect.
Oh, I didn't really notice that before.
You didn't notice that?
Well, I don't know, man.
I just thought it was very prominent, but I don't know. And because it sounds to me, it's like a technique. I think she
Now I
uses
hear
it because maybe she doesn't have quite a bassy voice tone naturally.
Fills up the lower end a little more.
Yeah, fills out that lower end.
Yeah, that's all right.
And it sounds very much like a Euro dance kind of trick. Like I would see this in 90s, early 2000s dance songs.
Okay, yeah. No, that sounds all right.
I'm not crazy about that country guitar.
It's like, if you go to like 216, it's like the most country little riff in there. Like sounding just very, like for like half a second.
Let's see.
It's just like burning down. Like it is odd. It didn't sound super out of place to me though.
I don't know. It's just like as soon as I picked up on it, I was like, "What the fuck?" And I kept hearing it coming in different places. I'm like, "This is fucking weird."
Yeah, it was unexpected, but I don't know. I think it
Yeah.
kind of like pays a little homage to kind of the roots of the song.
Yeah.
Even-
Plus,
or,
I mean, that's
because there's a lot of country versions of this song. We didn't talk about any of them, but
right.
this
So
song,
she could be pulling from that as well.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No, I thought this one was pretty good for what it is.
Yeah, and it ends like super suddenly because the last thing she says is like, "I just can't get it back."
Right.
And there's a part earlier on where she says that, and it like echoes back. But like this one, she just like totally just suddenly ends.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It just cuts right out.
Back,
I
and
just can't get it
down,
back. Done.
Yep.
Pack it up. Go home.
And talk about the last version of this song
The last version. David Hasselhoff in 2019.
and Ava Cherry.
If you could read my mind, love, what a tale my thoughts could tell. Just like an old-time movie about a ghost from a wishing well. In a
Yeah, and Ava Cherry, who was formerly a backup singer for David Bowie.
Backup
in the years
singer
of
and-
1974 to 1978.
Yeah. And David Hasselhoff is David fucking Hasselhoff.
Hasselhoff. So this is off a full album of covers he does. And it's, I will say, both in terms of the songs he chooses to cover and how he performs them. It's like if you, hang on, I wrote this down. It's a good joke. Damn it. Shit. It's This is like an album composed of songs you recorded your dad singing in the car.
He does Heroes.
He's got like, yeah, he does Heroes. He's got Here I Go Again by Whitesnake. He's got Rhinestone Cowboy.
Sugar Sugar.
Yeah.
Sweet Caroline.
Yeah.
Schwimmen. What does he say? Schwimmen?
Schwimmen.
It's probably in German.
Yeah,
It's
probably.
in
Oh yeah, I
German.
forgot David Hasselhoff is German. David Hasselhoff also does the hit single for the movie Kung Fury called True Survivor.
That is true. Survivor.
That thing fucking bangs all day. So
Yeah. He's popular in Germany, supposedly, so I guess that's why he did a German version of Heroes. I don't know if it's entirely German, but...
What is the version of Heroes?
Yeah, he does some German, I think maybe just for a verse or something. I'm not listening to it right now.
No, I think he does English as well on there.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing too.
Maybe not. No, he said Just for One Day. All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's teamed up on this album with like Flock of Seagulls, Todd Rundgren, Ava Cherry, fucking other people. Like big names come on to do covers with David Hasselhoff.
Yeah, he's David Hasselhoff, man. Although, Ava Cherry in this song, not much of a presence.
No.
She's, I guess, I don't know, she's a backup singer or whatever, but she's done
Yeah,
her
she
own
does.
stuff, I think.
Yeah, and when she takes the lead at around the 2:34 mark, she actually is the only singer.
Very briefly.
Very
For like
briefly.
a couple lines. She gets like the beginning of the fourth verse. And I didn't think she
Mhm.
did that great a job.
Yeah, it's like I said of David Hasselhoff's performance. It sounds like your fucking dad singing. Like it sounds very, it's very karaoke.
Like if your dad like had a pretty deep voice.
Yeah.
But it does. There's lots of like reverb on it, which I can do to you in my ears.
Do it, coward.
Yeah, you got so much reverb on you in my own ears. Which
As
you can't.
long as there's a ghost that you can't see.
David Hasselhoff, what are you doing here?
So this
In
one
Jake's
opens with a
room.
piano and a sort of also metronome sounding percussion, but not chimey.
Maybe it's
just
just
like
a
that
metronome. Oh, I'm still listening to Heroes. Fuck. Yeah, it's kind of like the
And it-
dum, tum, 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 tum,
Yeah.
kind of rhythm. And I think this one is more like really leans into the ballad side of the song. It's a little got that
Yeah.
ballady thing. It's got like piano arpeggios and like these synth pads just
Yeah,
like,
very
it's
chirpy
slow.
little synth too. That goes.
Yeah, the other
doing sort of the-
synthesizer that plays
yeah.
the riff. It almost sounds like a clav that you've just like filtered and like added some effects to. Like it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
clavinet sounding to me. But I'm sure there's other ways to make it that sound with a synthesizer.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's like it's very very subdued version. It's a bit long for my taste, given what it is, 4:17.
Yeah, it is.
Um,
I mean, I think I don't know. Did we mention like they sing together on some lines, and then Ava Cherry, like we said, sings on her own for a couple lines, and then after that, I was surprised. After she sings, they don't duet anymore. It's all David Hasselhoff from there.
Yeah, that's an odd choice, right?
Usually at the
when
end of the song is when you want to like harmonize, right?
Yeah, and you build this big giant moment.
And maybe it makes sense because it is about an ending relationship that at the end he's on his own.
Right.
But I feel like if that were the case, I don't know, she should have got more of a part in the song.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't get very much at all.
Yeah, this one was, I don't know, pretty boring to me. It's
Yeah, there's not like a whole lot. I feel like none of these really did the like duet thing, and it could be a duet. I think.
I feel like we pulled
Maybe
more
an awkward
YouTube
duet.
covers, so we'd get some of those arbitrary ones where they split it line by line kind of deal, right?
Yeah, that probably exists. I've been avoiding YouTube covers lately, though.
Yeah, well, Particularly with the songs we've been covering, there's kind of a wealth of non-YouTube covers.
That's true. We've been doing a lot of older stuff. Diana Krall has a
Yeah.
version. Ooh, I wonder if that's the version my sister. What?
So
Diana
that's
Krall feat Sarah McLachlan?
Sarah McLachlan. With
That's
that,
that's a duet.
ooh,
Didn't know about that one. All right. Just gonna ignore that for now.
never happened. Doesn't exist. Don't look it up, people. We're gonna get into our final verdicts. We got 3 categories today: the worst version, the best version, and the love songiest version.
Love songiest version.
For the final time, we're gonna have to come up with a new 3rd category next week. This is gonna be
man.
rough.
It usually is.
It usually is. Alex, what is the worst version of this and why?
What is the worst version of this song? For me, it was the Scala and Kolacny,
Kolacny? Yeah, I don't know.
Kolacny. The choral one. It was just boring. There wasn't much change. It was just chanty and like droning and not very effective in any really way. I mean, it's a song about isolation and you're singing it in a choir?
Yeah. It's a
I don't
terrible
know.
choice.
Which is fine, I'm sure. I'm sure that's possible, but it's a little weird, right? Right?
It's
Right?
fine to have the choir,
Yeah.
but you need another element. There needs to be some kind of driving force.
Yeah, like you said, there's got to be something else.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have much, and it needs more.
Yeah, and that's where, I have to agree with you there, because there are some bad versions of this. David Hasselhoff wasn't great, but it is at least the skeleton of a song, like all the pieces are there.
Right.
Whereas with Scala and the brothers K, it's just very clearly cannot stand on its own, and it's boring, it's too fucking long, and there's nothing really technically impressive about it or engaging. It's bad.
Here.
With that, Alex, let's talk about the best version of this and why.
The best version of this. I actually liked a couple of these versions.
Yeah, even if they don't really capture the spirit of the original one, I think some of these guys managed to slap in their own right, you know?
Yeah. And I don't know. I think I gotta give it to. I'm struggling here. But I think I have to give it to Streisand 54. I mean, I think they did a pretty good job of turning it into this like Europop thing. Eurodance thing. That
Yeah.
just like works, and it's not as like deep feeling as the original, but it kind of doesn't need to be. So
Yeah, it really finds its own element and, manages to hold a lot of the key lyrics from the original without totally bumming out a dance floor, which is, I suppose, impressive.
yeah, I'm not bummed out. It's like a good one to have in the middle of the playlist and just like bring it back up before the fucking choral thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I might actually agree with you. I thought the Barbra Streisand version was good, but it's a little too similar to the original to be noteworthy. The Liza Minnelli one is a strange beast.
It's a strange beast. I could see it being someone's favorite. If you're into that, like the show tunes, then I could definitely see it appeal. Certainly, it was enjoyable to listen to, especially because like the other lines were thrown in and it was a little higher energy too. So yeah.
Yeah, like that one is its own thing, but I don't think in terms of like the best cover of a song, it really deserves that. Viola Wills, like I thought it was all right. But I think it was still missing a lot. I think you're right. I think Stars on 54 really kind of hit the strong points and doesn't have a lot of flaws in it that aren't just flaws inherent in that genre. that you can't really explore the depths of heartbreak of a divorce while you're trying to dance.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm gonna agree with you on that. We're unanimous so far, Alex. Which of these is the love songiest?
Which is the love songiest?
Yeah.
Greatest Love of All by Whitney Houston, which uses the same like melody for part of it.
Yeah.
Gordon Lightfoot was gonna sue over it, but he decided to drop the lawsuit because it seemed to be negatively impacting Whitney Houston, and he just wanted to sue the songwriter.
Yeah.
Did you talk about that?
I didn't.
At the
I
start,
actually
yeah. I
didn't
sometimes
find a way
I
to weave
forget.
that in, so.
Sometimes I zone out for a minute. I wanted to bring that up just because it really is like the same. It's the which part of the song is it? Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
which is like that part of the melody does get used in Greatest Love of All. Anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up. That's not actually my answer.
You're right. But it is the
It
greatest
could
love
be.
of all.
It
so
is the greatest love
probably
of
the
all,
love
so that's
songest.
got to be the love songest, right? So if possible, that one wins. But other than that, the most love song he won. All right, I'm gonna give it to David Hasselhoff because it's really cheesy.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good call. It's got that. Yeah, it's like a cheesy karaoke number, really.
Yeah, and like and really has like a almost token like second like featuring artist.
Yeah, it's just like you needed to have that.
Yeah,
It's like,
because
oh, we
it's a
gotta
love
have a cherry
song.
on.
Yeah, it's awkward, just like love.
I'm gonna go with
Barbra Streisand.
because it's that sort of big. It's like showy love without being Liza Minnelli's odd show tune beast.
Right.
And yeah, I think with the strings getting those punching those big notes and stuff, like that's pretty classic love song from what we've seen over the course of this month alone, let alone with other versions we talked about of love songs. This isn't the only time we've talked about love songs. I feel like that's worth pointing out.
What are you talking about?
Well, just 'cause
I've
you know
never
the whole
talked about a
theme of
love
this-
song in my life until February.
Till February, that's right.
I mean, how many songs could there be out there that are about love, really?
Really, yeah.
Speaking
it's
realistically, it can't be that many, right?
5, 6.
Yeah, I mean, we did 4 for this month and pretty much exhausted the whole supply, so.
Yeah, it was tough finding 4.
Yeah, it's like this and maybe Purple Rain? I think, right? What's Purple
Yeah.
Rain about?
It's about love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe.
So that's been our final verdict. If you've got a similar opinion, different opinion, or you want to talk about a song we didn't talk about, hit us up on Twitter, #CoverMePod, @JakeTheCressy, or @SomeAlexWiseGuy. You can also email us at covermepod@gmail.com with your questions, comments, concerns. Be sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to us. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, some other shit probably. We're gonna jump into our bonus segment inspired by a childhood game that people love to play. You know the old Marry, Fuck, Kill, Alex.
Ooh, yes.
So we're gonna do that, but with the love songs we've talked about this month. So it's gonna be Marry, Fuck, Finger, and Kill.
Okay.
I couldn't come up with a good fourth one. I was gonna do cuck, but I figured if you marry someone and then fuck somebody else, you're already cucking the married person. So it doesn't work, Alex.
All right. So, fuck, marry,
So-
finger, kill.
Kill, yeah. And the 4 songs are, of course, This Must Be the Place by the Talking Heads, I Want to Know What Love Is by Foreigner, Heroes by David Bowie, and this week's piece, which is If You Could Read My Mind by Gordon Lightfoot.
Gordon Lightfoot. All right. Let's see. Okay, I think I have it.
You got it?
Yep. So I'm going to hang on. Let me think about this again, real quick.
Okay, sure.
All right. I'm gonna fuck If You Can Read My Mind. I'm gonna finger This Must Be the Place. I'm gonna marry Heroes, and I'm gonna kill I Want to Know What Love Is.
That's pretty solid. So give me some of the reasoning behind this.
Well, I Want to Know What Love Is probably my least favorite of these songs. Don't dislike it,
Right.
but like it's the least good. Like I feel like we talked about some really solid songs this month,
Mhm.
and that one almost stands out
Yeah, it
as
really is
being
a
like
sore
not
thumb.
as good. In my mind anyway. But it's still fun.
I love that the song that what's his face believes Mick Jones believes was delivered by God.
Like,
is your
it's just
least
so
favorite.
cheesy.
You're like, it's fine.
I mean, it's all of these songs have resonance, and that one
Mhm.
is the only one here who's just like playing casinos.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess there's nothing wrong with
That's-
playing casinos, really.
No,
but
there's nothing
I'm
wrong.
gonna
But
talk
you're
shit
right.
about
It's
it
like
anyway.
it's just one that you can find in a lot cheaper places than you might find these other songs.
Yeah. I also just don't like casinos conceptually. But anyway, I knew I was gonna marry Heroes because that's the song I have the most history with.
Right.
And This Must Be the Place is a little more fun. So I feel like you could have some like light fun times with This Must Be the Place, right?
All right. Yeah.
That's
just
why
finger it.
That's why you gotta finger it. And then that leaves If You Could Read My Mind as the one you just fuck. Does that mean you fuck him once or you fucking him on the side? I've never really known.
Yeah, I've never really known that either.
Is
If it's a
it
one-time
your side
thing or
your side piece or is it just like a
contract
one-time thing?
fucking.
Yeah. And if you marry
It's,
it, does that
yeah.
mean does that imply there's no like sex with marriage? Is that the joke
Yeah,
behind this whole thing?
Yeah, I wonder. And the other question is, did you pick If You Could Read My Mind to fuck? Because if you married it, it would have immediately cheated on you.
Yeah, don't marry If You Could Read My Mind.
Don't marry the divorce song.
Don't marry the divorce song. All right, what's yours?
Okay, so it's gonna marry. This Must Be the Place. Fuck Heroes. Finger. If You Could Read My Mind, and kill Foreigner.
So yeah, I Want to Know What Love Is got killed by both of us.
Both of those. Yeah, it's just like you're right. We talked about two art rock songs and like a very heartfelt folk song where like the lyricism in particular is like very intense and like layered and like personal on some level for each of those.
Right.
And then I Want to Know What Love Is apparently about fucking spies. It's part of some fucking concept album.
Yeah, it just doesn't have the same like timeless aspect, I think, as the other ones do.
Mm-hmm.
Like
it's the drugstore novel where the other ones are like masterpieces, you know?
yeah, like If You Could Read My Mind does sound like, but it's like folky enough. It sounds, I don't know if I'd say it's 70s sounding necessarily. It's definitely like slow and acoustic, but we have slow acoustic jams now, you know?
Yeah.
And Heroes, like what the fuck does Heroes sound like?
Yeah.
And This Must Be the Place. I feel like it doesn't sound like 80s synth pop or anything like that. Like it doesn't date itself to me in the same way that I Want to Know What Love Is like, oh yeah, that's a cheesy 80s ballad. Like, you know, because you hear it.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, that's
it
what
has
is.
all the parts.
I'm sure there's specific reasons that I don't know, but like the other ones are more universal and more timeless. Whereas I Want to Know What Love Is, to me, hasn't really stood the test of time in the same way.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And so for my marriage to This Must Be the Place, I agree with you. It is fun and it does feel light, but it also has that almost like weird serendipitous quality. Like even in the song, he's like, "Oh, I guess this is where I'm supposed to be, right? This must be the place."
Right. It's got that feeling of like being comfortable in somewhere.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the kind of song you want to marry, where you're comfortable but still having fun.
That's probably a good move. I went for the dramatic dying with bombs exploding overhead. So
yeah, and I felt like at the heart of Heroes, it's about this short moment. And I agree in some extent. Being married to that sounds incredible and intense, but I think in the spirit of the song, you just got to fuck it. And you know, if it's the one time fuck, you go. Or if you're Tony Visconti, it's a whole affair, right? And
True.
yeah, so I feel like that's the one you fuck. And then for If You Could Read My Mind, I'm scared to get hurt. Like obviously the love is deep and intense, but I don't want to get too close. So you just kind of finger it and go on your merry way, a little fun hand stuff. Hey, you're great. But I think in that scenario, I'm going to be thinking about If You Could Read My Mind for a long time.
That's true. Did you cut out for?
No, I think you caught the full of that.
Okay.
Yeah. Skip. So that is our bonus segment.
That's
if
the
you
one.
have a Mary Fuck Finger kill, you wanna drop on us, hit us up, MFFK, #MFFK on Twitter. And we can discuss our weird relationships with songs.
Yeah.
That's been our episode. Thank you for joining us. Tune in next week when we talk about another song and its many cover versions. And as we always say on Cover Me, if you could read my... Shit, I really should have thought of this one beforehand.
If you
Just
could
like
cover
no,
my
you got something?
mind,
If
it
you
would be
could
like
cover me.
Magneto in the X-Men.
That's right. No, fuck. I actually had one. I think I had one.
Sorry, I spoke over. If you could cover me, I would be me, and you would drink all the time in this place.
Are you trying to fit them all together?
It's a lot.
If you could, hang on, I had it. If you could cover me, love, what a tale my notes on your cover could tell.